This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Wednesday, January 18th, 2006, and this is episode number 50 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm Matt Hochberg from MGMstudios.org. Our panel today includes the one, the only, Mary Waring of MouseSavers.com. Welcome to the show, Mary.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We love having you over here. You're a fan favorite, if I may say so. And we've also got staff columnist and trip planning guru of MousePlanet.com, Mike Scopa. Welcome, Mike.
Ticky. Oh, hi, Matt. How you going? How's it going? Hey, how's it going?
Outstanding, Mike. And we've also got Mike Newell of MouseWorld.com. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks, Matt.
It's Wednesday, and of course, if it's Wednesday, that means we're just answering your listener questions. If you'd like your questions answered, you can email us at questions@wdwtoday.com, and you might get lucky enough to have one of your questions answered by Mary Waring.
Yay.
This first question today is actually probably for Mike Newell.
Oh.
If you got this one, I'll give you a cookie. This question comes from Alan Perkins, who writes, love the podcast. I have attached an MP3 of the theme music for the top 7 must-sees loop that plays in the Walt Disney World Resort. Can anyone identify the music used here? Was it composed for the show, or is it an existing jazz piece?
Wow.
And he goes back on to say, bring back Krissa, which I will second.
I have to disagree.
Well, besides Krissa versus Stacy.
I'm a Stacy fan myself.
Okay, well, no one's perfect.
I honestly have no idea where that piece of music comes from. I'm assuming it was recorded for them, although it could be just a general recording that is up for grabs. I honestly don't know. I've never heard it anywhere else before, although I have heard some of their other background music used in other pieces, television programs, but nothing like that.
Yeah, my inclination is that it was produced for Disney, but
it's hard to tell.
Yeah, I mean, my other thinking is that if it wasn't used, if it was some other piece of music that existed before, meaning Disney has to pay royalties on it more than likely, that they wouldn't use it the second time around, perhaps.
Yeah.
Or change it up if they're going to pay for it.
Yeah, it's the same piece of music from both Krissa and Stacy, so I'm assuming it's just a freebie.
Yep. Well, our next question comes from John, an annual pass holder from Littleton, Colorado, and he says, boys, and I'm sure, Mary, he meant to say boys and girl, if he had known that you had been on the show. Is it true that you can get free admission to Epcot through the World Showcase entrance nightly after the Illumination show is finished?
Begs the question,
Legally?
why would you want to? But
Can you get in? I've never been bothered. I mean, I don't even think that you can get in, meaning the gates aren't allowed to open. They're just, people are coming out, no one's coming in. Anyone tried to get in after?
I have. I've done it through the main gate. I don't know about the back gate.
Anything? What was your results with the main gate?
Just walk right through.
Really?
I was stopped, but all I had to say was, I'm waiting for my wife with the baby. And they said, yeah, come on in, no problem.
So you didn't have to use your ticket, Mike, at all?
No.
Well,
I had it with me, but it was just one of those things I didn't bring it out. I didn't think you even would have needed it. I think those machines are all turned off at that point because those gates are all used to go out, the one way out, not to be used coming in.
Well,
they probably figure there are a certain number of people who just need to pass through the park to get to where they parked or whatever, and it's just not worth challenging anybody at that point.
Right.
Sure. Well, our next question could be up Mary's alley. If Sue Pizzatoro of Small World Vacations wasn't in France, I know that she'd be able to answer this one for us. But Kevin Peace of Flagstaff, Arizona writes, I keep hearing you talk about how great the concierge level is at the Polynesian. What exactly is a concierge level, and what is so great about it?
Well, the concierge level is, actually it varies. Some hotels actually have a level where all the rooms are located that are associated with concierge, and you have easy access to a private lounge that's only for concierge guests, where they have some food in the morning, like a continental breakfast, and then at various times during the day they have snacks brought out. And it just gives you a quiet place to hang out with your family and friends, or if you're there on business, you could meet with a business client or something like that. It's quite a lot more expensive than even the most deluxe room. And depending on the particular hotel, it may or may not be a good deal. Something to be aware of is that sometimes the concierge rooms are not necessarily the best quality rooms in the hotel. For instance, at Animal Kingdom Lodge, there are some rooms on the 5th floor which are Savannah View that are considered concierge. The concierge lounge is on the 6th floor. If you're in the 6th floor rooms that are associated with concierge, those do not have Savannah views. So that kind of defeats the whole purpose of being at the Animal Kingdom Lodge in a fancy room.
Yep.
So you definitely need to do your homework on those.
Hey, Mike Scopa, you've often said that you're a fan of the Polynesian Resort to begin with. Would
Right.
you also say that the concierge level at the Polynesian is a worthwhile investment?
I cannot say firsthand, but I have heard from so many people who have just sworn by the Polynesian concierge level, and these same people who I've talked with have experienced it at the Animal Kingdom Lodge and at Boardwalk and at Beach and Yacht Club, and and the Grand Floridian, if they had their druthers, they would go to, I believe it's the Hawaii building at the Polynesian where the concierge level is, and they just would take that over the rest of them. Although Animal Kingdom Lodge is making some inroads, I must say.
Well, our next question comes from Avery Mayer, I screwed that up, but Avery of Allentown, Pennsylvania. And Avery writes, I would like to know if Magic Your Way Plus dining is worth the money for a family of 6 with 4 children. We are planning on staying for 8 or 9 days. I'd like to know what you thought about what time is the best to go by price, weather, and crowd. I think your podcast is great, and you should keep up the fabulous work. So, family of 6, 4 children. Is the Magic Your Way Plus dining worth it?
Well, it really depends on how many sit-down or full-service meals you would probably be eating during your vacation. If your kids' preference is for doing lots of rides and eating in the counter service restaurants, and a lot of kids really only like that kind of food, they're kind of picky eaters and they want only, fries and chicken fingers and things like that, it may not be worth it to you because really the value in that program is primarily in buying the sit-down or full-service meals, at least one per day on average,
That's
in order to get your money's worth out of the program.
Mike, did you have a comment about that?
Yeah, I want to echo Mary's thoughts. I also want to say that this is another one of those situations where you look at that versus purchasing one annual pass and purchasing one Disney dining experience card that will cover the family, and then you have to, what I call, envision what you are going to be doing every day as far as meals, how many meals you'll be enjoying, if you'll be sitting down for one main meal a day, or what kind of a meal will that be? Do your children, do they graze or do they eat when you go to a buffet? Things like that. I think you have to take everything into consideration. But as Mary said, it depends upon, how you conduct your day. If you want to just, build your days around what you're eating, and then I'm not sure if that's the right way to approach a vacation. I think you have to think about how you're going to spend your vacation and exactly what type of restaurant you're going to, and then and only then can you determine if this is for you. Personally, I don't particularly like it.
And the value of the Disney dining experience has dropped a little bit this year too, because they've discontinued allowing the few counter service restaurants that were on the program before have been dropped. So again, it's going to be one of those things where unless you're going to do a lot of full table service meals, Disney dining experience may not be such a good fit for you either.
Well, our next question comes from Bob Cortland of Ohio. All right, no, it's Bob from Cortland, Ohio. And Bob writes to us, my family and I have stayed at the Beach Club in the past and enjoyed it. However, the last time we stayed there in 2002, there was a noticeable deterioration in the hotel. For example, the carpet was worn and frayed down to the padding at the third floor elevators, wallpaper was peeling in some places, and the men's restroom at Storm Long Bay was very much in need of refurbishment. My question is has Disney done any reservations to the Beach Club Resort since 2002? We're planning a trip and wanting to stay there this time, but not at $300 per night if it's in the same condition as it was in 2002.
Well, like any hotel, it's got ongoing renovations. I mean, they've got a program in place for maintenance, so things are done on a rotating basis, and there can be things that are due on the schedule to be done next that your timing's bad and you happen to be there the week they haven't scraped the ceiling and repainted it yet.
Right. Has anyone been to the Beach Club Resort lately?
Sure.
Nope.
I was just there in November.
Oh, November. How was your experience?
I didn't actually stay there, but I spent quite a bit of time eating in restaurants there and meeting with people, and I thought everything looked great.
Great. I would think that, especially with the Beach Club Resort, which is more of a high-end resort compared to, say, some of the value resorts, I think your experience there is going to be worth it, I would say. I wouldn't think that you'd have a relapse of that sort of thing. Our next question comes from Scott Chapin, who wrote, love the podcast. I was wondering if you guys know whether they still have the, I can't pronounce this. It's the beer in the Norway Pavilion, Rignes? Something Norwegian, Rignes. I've looked at some menus online and only see Carlsberg listed. Well, I can tell you, Scott, that I had seen it offered on tap at one of the little carts on the path to World Showcase. Has anyone eaten in Norway recently?
Nope, not me.
Nope. I think it's still available. At least you can get it at the pavilion. Whether or not you can actually get it at the one of the restaurants there is another question in itself. But it is still available somewhere in Norway. Our next question comes from Brian Gardner, who writes, who's actually from Fruitdale, Alabama, and asks, how do families get chosen to ride in the daytime parade? Mike Scopa? Sounds like something you might
I knew
know.
you'd ask me.
I would know.
I think that the first thing that they look for is a typical Disney family, and that usually means a family of 4. Sometimes they will just randomly select someone who is walking in, let's say, for the Share a Dream Come True parade, which is run in the Magic Kingdom. They will look for a family of maybe 4 or 5 and look for specifically. My guess is that there's got to be at least one 7-year-old in that family, and they will, because that is their main target, and they will then put that family in as grand marshals, and they will be on the parade. Very rarely will you see a family with older children. There's always going to be a sub-teen, and usually that sub-teen is about 7 or 8 years old.
So what do? They walk around and try to scope you out?
I think they see people who are walking around, and especially those people who seem to really be enjoying themselves, and maybe even first timers. I don't know. I think that the key, Mike, is that they're looking for a special profile, and that profile, once that family hits that profile, well, you know how very careful they are about imaging and such. So once they see that profile, bang, they'll grab that family.
It's casting, basically.
Exactly.
They're going to cast the perfect Disney family. So
I don't know if there's any way that the guest can influence that. I guess if you really wanted to find out, then if you go into the Magic Kingdom and go to guest relations, guest services in City Hall, you could say, hey, how do I get in the parade? And if you happen to be standing there and you have a cute little pigtailed daughter who's 7 years old, you may be the grand marshal for the day,
Yep. Our next question comes from Michelle Collins of Traverse City, Michigan, and Michelle asks, can you tell me how big the lockers at the railroad station at the Magic Kingdom are?
I wish I had looked. The train station has been completed. It's all done, and I did not get a chance to check it out. I know that they are I believe they're now on the sides now. The lockers. I don't know. I wish I had checked that. All I know is that they're completed. They may be a bit smaller than they were before, but I'm not sure. I wish I could.
How much could you? I mean, let's assume that they're the same size as they were before, which is entirely possible.
Maybe the small microwave. I don't know.
I mean, is that how big you're looking at?
Cubic foot? Maybe one cubic foot.
Could you? I mean, what could you stuff in there? A jacket? How many? Like 2 jackets, 3 jackets, pair of shoes? What are we looking at?
Camera bag.
Probably a large camera bag. Probably Probably I don't know. Anything that would fit maybe 18 inches by 18 inches, maybe.
Okay, so you're not gonna be able to stuff like something rather large in there.
Like a refrigerator? No.
No.
No. I mean, I think that a couple of jackets, maybe if you want to put a little small a cooler in there with some drinks, maybe or whatever, but nothing really substantial. Just something. When they put those lockers in place, it was for reasons of, well, if someone wants a jacket, because like for instance, this time of year it's fairly mild during the day, but it gets cold at night. Sometimes it gets cold in the morning when you're going to run a race. And what happens is that the guests will use the lockers to store a jacket that they don't want to carry during the day. So they're not really that large. And you got to remember, with the number of people that go into that park, they can only have so many lockers. So they wanted to keep them at a smallest size possible.
That's a good point. Our last question today comes from Thomas Carbow of Austin, Texas, and Thomas says, "Howdy, gang. I'm new to all of this, and I really like your podcast. I'm bringing the wife and 3 kids, ages 12, 10, and 7. They're boy, and girl, respectively. This July to Walt Disney World, and I'd like to know if y'all would recommend Disney Quest for any of us. Could we leave the boys in there unsupervised?"
12, 10.
12, 10, and 7. Can a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old roam free? Or is that going to be a hazard to other people in there?
I would not let them roam free, especially if it's their first time. I think that if the whole family is together for the initial visit to Disney Quest, I think it would be much more rewarding because there are a lot of things that you can do as a family, and I think that that's part of what Disney Quest is all about. I think that there are also some areas that the boys could probably be on their own. So I think that the initial hour or so that you're in there, I think you should enjoy it as a family. And then as you get comfortable with the surroundings, there are like little areas where they can do some video games and things like that. I think at that point you can let them roam. But I think during the first hour, maybe the first hour and a half, I think that the family should stick together.
I totally agree.
All right.
Especially not just to drop them off and go someplace else. I mean, if you're going to be in the whole building together, that's one thing. But not to drop them off and go shopping, let's say, at downtown Disney. I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, the whitewater rafting, the Pirates of the Caribbean. There's so many things. The pinball areas that you're part of the pinball machine. I think there are so many areas that they can enjoy on themselves that I think they need to do that as a family, and then later on they can roam.
Great. Well, that's it for us today. This has been episode number 50 Walt Disney World Today. I'd like to thank our guest, Mary Waring, for filling in for Len Testa. Mary, as always, a pleasure.
Glad to be here.
And if you want to find some older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, you can visit the Walt Disney World Today website at www.wdwtoday.com. You can also email us your own questions for our Wednesday shows. We'd love to hear from you. Email us at questions@wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, and Mike Newell, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.